If Sony managed to scam you, do let us know down in the comments. And that's the thing, you might not know that Sony effectively tried to dupe you out of $10, but they absolutely did. Now, hopefully if you saw the video a few days ago, you will have got yourself around this and you won't have been messed up by their really very deceptive pricing practices here. But unfortunately, with Horizon Forbidden West, they have mostly got away with it. They've mostly got away with it. And this, I mean, as Richard Hogue is pointing out, this is a set of practices that could even open them up to a class action lawsuit, which I think tells you that it is pretty damn deceptive and scummy indeed.
Yep, we have some of the numbers are in for how many people who bought Forbidden West who are likely to have been charged, and it's a very, very large number. With, according to the GfK sales, which is sales data from the UK physical realm published by GamesIndustry.biz, 68% of box sales for Forbidden West were PS5, despite the fact you could buy the PS4 one and get all the same content for $10 less.
Yeah, and that's the scam, by the way. You may not have known this, and Sony definitely did not try to let you know about this because of how they ended up guiding people through their sales flow. But yeah, the PS4 edition of this game, in order to stay true to their promises, does include a free digital upgrade to the PS5 edition. Obviously, the PS5 edition is just the PS5 edition. It costs $70. The PS4 with free upgrade to PS5 costs $60. Functionally, they're the exact same product. The only difference is one of them is $10 cheaper, and funny enough, that is not the version that Sony show you up front when you are purchasing on their various different platforms. So that's why we say it's a scam, why it's deceptive. And man, they really did get people.
Yeah, they got people, and I think it's we know 68% of UK box sales. So you're like, okay, well that's just the box sales, right? That's a pretty small margin of who's going to buy it overall. But then you kind of look and go, well, that's decently representative. But also you start to think of like the percentage of digital, comparatively speaking, and because at least in the box version, people are expected to kind of know what they're kind of going in for. Yeah, there was even people in the shops telling them, hey, you can get the PS4 version for $10 cheaper, but the digital version is literally just, the point is completely railroaded into it, to the point that I almost forgot, because I went to pre-order it when it was out. I was like, oh yeah, no, sorry, buy it when it was out. No, okay. And I was about to hit the button and went, wait, hang on. We talked about this, and I was sitting at my PS5, I had to go get my phone, take my phone in my pocket, navigate to the PS app, and actually save myself the $10 that way. So it's 68%, but I think it's well over 70% of people, honestly.
Yeah, so it's just crazy the way that you need to buy it on PS4 mobile or web to get the discount. The railroad. Yep. Just when you say it back to me, it's like it just strikes me as completely mad. Yeah. Everyone trying to buy this in their PS5 just bought the same game for $10 more, and Sony are going to get away with this completely scot-free. Probably. Like, realistically, they're probably going to. Yep. Which is wild. So, well over 70% of Sony's game sales revenue is digital. So I think everyone who bought this in the PS5 got.
Everyone who bought it.
Who's going to know? Unless you watched our video. Because not that many people were talking about this. Yeah. Richard Hogue pointed it out. We pointed it out. I think a few days after that, Young pointed it out. But by the time that most of us had done that, like people pre-ordering and stuff like that, I mean, so much of the damage would have been done. I
think in terms of traditional games media, the only two outlets I saw were VGC covered it from the Richard Hogue angle, which is this is deceptive marketing practice called by a lawyer. And I think on Friday, it might have been Thursday night, I think Eurogamer posted an FYI, you can get this for a $10 cheaper. But I think that's the only people I saw talk about this in any capacity, which is just, obviously Sony got away with it then. If no one bothered to say, hey, this is what's going on.
And there is one funny thing. This guy was like trying to guide people in the store that he works, and one person said that the PS4 spine would make his PS5 shelf look off. Yeah, and you might want to roast that, but actually, I understand that
100%.
Like, even on my own personal notion, I have like a little list of the TV shows that I watch and things like that. And, all of the covers have got to be perfect.
Yeah.
Whenever I put something onto Plex and it auto pulls like it did it for Battlestar Galactica, and it's like, that's not the version of the box that I like. And it just completely set me off. So for me, unfortunately, the whole games, physical games, that ship has mostly sailed. But I 100% get it, and especially after you got the, the sort of special edition reissues of their covers that are like really nice art style. So I can totally understand that. It's just a bit funny. It's a bit funny of a situation.
Yeah, it's awkward. I think, I mean, it kind of shows how Sony will get away with it.
Yeah.
Because especially in the physical realm, here's $10, but you get the PS5 inlay instead of the PS4 one. Because the boxes are the same, it's just the actual art and the inlay, which is different. I mean, honestly, I had that consideration because I generally prefer physical games because I'll rage against the digital machine until I die, basically, in a way. But I ended up going for digital because it was the only way I could get it. Well, obviously, it was late at night when I bought it, so I couldn't go to the store. But it was like, I was thinking, okay, do I go in the morning? But if I go in the morning, I know I'm a dumbass. I'm going to get the PS5 version.
Of course.
Because I want the box that makes sense. So I just bought it digitally and saved the money instead. Which is, they put me in a really awkward position that way, I think. But
and this guy was even so good that he was going to give the person a PS5 inlay.
Yeah.
But no, he took the PS5 version because the inlay didn't have the barcode.
Yep.
So I might be taking it a bit too far.
Yeah.
But there you go. That is basically what happened. Sony managed to pull off what we tried to warn everybody about because, the entire of gaming doesn't subscribe to this channel, and that's a problem. Nah, I take the piss. But man, it sucks. Like, just the informational thing, like if you watched Young's video, watched our video, read Eurogamer, saw Richard's tweet, who the hell was going to know about this?
Yeah.
Like, the severe, the different deal that you get, like the informational disparity, it sucks. Now, of course, this game's... Well, let's talk about sales. Let's talk about sales. How many people this actually will have impacted, because it's just going to be a lot.
Yeah, because obviously the first thing you have to go for is, whenever we were talking about this before, it was under the guise of, okay, well, Horizon Zero Dawn sold, I think it was recently they announced 20 million copies.
Yeah.
So obviously not all of, Forbidden West probably isn't going to sell 20 million copies quite as fast. Maybe it eventually will, who knows, but it's still heavily marketed. The point they were throwing up Claw Strider statues in different train stations around the UK, which, cool and all that, but just they put a lot of budget into marketing. I've seen it on the buses nearby. It's their big Q1 release for this year. It is the PS5 event that everyone's been waiting for, to use relatively cringe terminology, but it's going to sell so much. I mean, there's definitely some issues with attach rate. People are mentioning recently on Twitter where attach rates for first parties are actually lower than you expect.
Really?
Yeah. So this whole there were 17 million PS5 sold as of December. Right. That's probably over 20 million now. There's been a month and a bit. Maybe not, hard to say, but definitely in the 17 to 20 range. And this is one of the big PS5 games, so it's obviously going to sell millions and millions and millions. And then you look at, this is kind of different because you look at the amount of PS4 sold.
Well, that's it.
They're not going to have the $70 stuff, but...
Yeah, the overall install base, though.
Yeah.
It's going to be 146 million PS4s plus all these PS5s, which is it's quite a lot. I know there'll be overlap there, but I think a lot of people still haven't jumped over. Is there any reason as to why the attach rate is on the way down?
It's less that it's on the way down and more that it's never been as high as for first party as people have let on, I think.
Interesting.
I think a lot of that is people who will buy the consoles for a couple of games, but not all of them. So it's I think that's a good example. There are over 146 million PS4 sold and over 20 million copies of Horizon Zero Dawn. That's 1/7 of people who have bought a PS4 are playing one of Sony's biggest first parties.
Well, I think if you're playing, COD and FIFA,
maybe
a RPG is not exactly going to be your cup of tea.
Yeah, of course.
So, class action being possible, it's the sort of thing where it could happen, but a law firm would need to take up the case, and that seemed unlikely because, it's $10 a copy. So ultimately, even if this sold 20 million copies, yes, that would be $200 million. But it's not going to sell out of those 20 million copies overnight, is it? So it would take a while for a law firm to actually be able to, they could launch into this basically, but it's like, would it really be worth it versus perhaps some other things they could pursue? And that's one of the reasons why Sony are probably just going to get away with this scot-free.
Yeah, which is really, it's insane to think that, okay, well, 200 million, I think it was Richard Hogue said 200 million is probably not enough for them to get out of bed for. Like, in terms of what they'll take home at the end of it all, you need to be looking for more damages than that, which sounds insane.
Does
but
indeed.
Legal fees, especially fighting Sony lawyers, is going to add up big time. But I think the thing that ultimately means is then, well, if they're not going to go to bed for 200 million, let's say, as an example, Forbidden West sells, I think it's probably fair to say, 3 to 5 million copies relatively soon. And on PS5, that is. Let's say that. I think it may be a little bit exaggerating, but assuming they don't solve this problem anytime soon, we're going to have this $10 overcharge just in perpetuity. Because they haven't spoken about it, they haven't acknowledged it, they haven't admitted it. It's just going to be information will get out, and some people make the decision, but most people who buy it will just be going straight to the store or straight to whatever option. So you're looking at, say, $20 million. As opposed to, the 200 million. So Sony have just yoinked 20 to $50 million out of consumers' pockets in a way that Richard Hogue believes is a deceptive and unfair trading practice as according to US law.
Yeah.
And they're just going to get away with it. They're like, oh yeah, there's an extra 50 million.
And I'd wonder,
happy days.
because sometimes the UK is a little bit harsher in some of those advertising laws and things. So I even wonder in the UK if like the ASA would sort of get involved. Probably not. Who knows? That's mostly it for this story. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to really say other than what you said. They just sort of swooped in, took 20 mil or whatever, and swooped away again. Now that said, there's another little thing that's came out for this game that is a good thing, because we don't want to overshadow that Guerrilla have made a great game.
Of course,
right?
Yeah.
This is just this is the business people coming in, and I mean, hey, is that not the theme of things in gaming? Mm-hmm. Now. Often we see in the likes of, say, Electronic Arts, the business people seem to come in, they seem to crack the whip to get the product out. Now, doesn't seem like Sony do that as much, perhaps, or perhaps they just let their studios kind of run things the way that they want, which has seemingly led to Guerrilla having very rarely crunch. Go on saying, we are very aware of the disadvantages of crunching, so we take this into account in our planning a lot. And said that Horizon Forbidden West could have launched at the end of 2021, but it would have required overtime. The studio didn't want to do that. And evidently Sony were willing to let them miss the holiday season sales and all of that to go and fight Elden Ring.
Yep.
Which,
brave.
That's brave and pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on to something when you say Sony let their PlayStation studios do whatever they seem to want to within reason. Because obviously
They've lost their blur.
Yeah, we had stories of, Naughty Dog and them having like pretty bad problems with crunch. A lot of it resulting from them being like, no, we're the best. We have to put in this overtime. This is who we are. We burn ourselves out. That's our mission as great creatives. But then you look at Guerrilla, who obviously Naughty Dog are American and Guerrilla are Dutch. And Europeans have generally speaking, particularly a more lax attitude to this stuff. Generally speaking, with better working conditions historically because of generally sometimes.
So there is shit that goes on in America that you just could not get away with where Guerrilla's located. Yeah,
so Guerrilla are like, yep, no, we will actually make this the case. We will run things how we want to. And you kind of get the same for Insomniac, where I don't know if Insomniac have ever been incited in any big crunch sort of stuff. I've never heard any sort of ill sort of tidings come from them whatsoever. And I would expect an examination into it because obviously they're across the road from Naughty Dog. So I wonder if they're a little bit better and it's just down to studio management as opposed to publisher interference.
I think I remember hearing something about one or two things not being addressed properly internally at Insomniac, but I don't think there was ever anything massive. Yeah. And it's been claimed for like most of their recent games that there's also been zero crunch. Yeah. And sort of you look at all of the games we're talking about here, like they come out polished. Not bug-free, but certainly not, Anthem levels of bugs or anything like that. Yeah. I think this just does prove, it's important that there's no crunch, that the bad planning doesn't happen. I know a lot of people say, well, hey, people I know work in construction, and here's what they have to do. These game developers are being a bunch of pussies. And I mean, like as an example, my dad was in construction, and there'd be times where he'd work late nights. But ultimately, if you know much about construction, or at least some of the the memes that go on about tradespeople, kind of banditry and stuff like that, it's not as good of a job when it's done in crunch.
Yeah, I think that's
when your builders are on site till 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. from the morning, and they're having to crunch through the actual, there's going to be bugs in the thing they're building. And it is just like that here. Ultimately, it all just comes down to planning, and done well here. So.
Yeah, I've put a substantial amount of time into Forbidden West over the past couple of days. I think like 30 hours the past 3 days or something, because it's just that very sort of Moorish game. You just do everything in it, and I've definitely seen bugs, but nothing that's been major. Everything has felt relatively polished. There's some visual bugs, so like pop in objects and textures getting stuck in a wall because it popped in. But in an open world game, to only experience that once in 30 hours, and there's some maybe enemy AI where they'll snap to positions a little bit, kind of, that pulls me out of it. But generally speaking, it's like, no, this game is very clearly polished in ways that I could only expect of a studio that's full of people who have just taken their time and done their job right. I could get into a whole spiel about how this is the perfect example of a sequel, but I think I'll save that for another day. Because Zero Dawn, I didn't like very much. Forbidden West, substantially better in every gameplay constraint, and also in most of the writing was. It's completely... They still can't pace an open world story, I'll say that. But that's why I'm really annoyed about this whole scam thing taking, rightfully taking precedence in what some people are talking about. In the kind of, no, we have to look out for the consumer here. We have to look out for these business practices that aren't fair to people and are, illegality aside, or sorry, potential illegality aside, alleged illegality aside, it's just they're scamming people, and I'm sure Guerrilla are furious about it, because having that hanging over their game that's otherwise, it's not exactly the complete game changer, but it is an exceptional piece of video game in terms of how it's crafted.
Yeah. So good news for actually playing video games.
Yep.
And for buying video games, just, have a look. Unfortunately, have a think before you buy, because maybe funny business will be going on. Yep. Now it's time for today's funny business to end. So we will see you in the next video. Check out whatever has popped up next, and goodbye.